Today on Hampton Roads Business Weekly, a local business explodes on the national scene.
While another business explodes literally.
Do we have your attention? Hampton Roads Business Weekly starts right now.
Hello and welcome to Hampton Roads Business Weekly, a look at the businesses and entrepreneurs making a difference right here in Hampton Roads. I'm Cheryl Tan.
And I'm Zack Miller. We start today with cybersecurity, specifically what to do when your business is hacked. Take a look. Talking about disaster recovery. So I'm a business and I wasn't really in a good position and I wasn't backing up my material and I've been hacked and I need to recover from it. What can I do?
Two things.
I can do something. That's good.
Well, two things. One, maybe you didn't back up this week, and you normally do. Maybe you didn't back up last month, you normally do. If you have any backup at all, that's a good thing, because two things can happen. You could outsource a recovery expert to come in and look at whatever caused the compromise and what it did.
Meaning hire someone to come in and look. Okay.
It's too late. By now, if you've been, it's too late. It's time to call someone else in. Unless you've got a backup in your pocket from last week, it's time to call someone else in. The best thing to happen, though, is if you're smart enough to be doing a backup periodically, whatever that may be, weekly, daily, live, whatever. If you had it live and it's going off to a cloud somewhere, say Google or a third party or Dropbox, well, even though that hard drive got hit by lightning or the hard drive failed or somebody, the waterman, tipped over a gallon of water on it, well, you probably got that data relatively quickly, but it's somewhere else out there on the net somewhere, on the cloud. However, if you've been hit by ransomware, you have a much worse problem. Ransomware is, the term is nefarious actor. It's a bad guy, okay? It could be a nation state.
Sounds terrifying.
Could be a guy you ticked off during a customer, it doesn't matter. He's got some malware on your computer, and that's another issue, how it gets there. But you will get a screen pop up in front of you and say, you've been hit with CryptoLocker. You've been hit with some Acme malware. You have 96 hours to pay us $17,000 in Bitcoin, or all your data is gone.
So someone will visually be able to know that.
Oh, you'll see it. They'll start a clock, and it'll tick down by the second. Very intimidating. At that time, if you have taken and done your backups, well, you've been really good and diligent about your backups because you're storing it off every 2 hours. It does a read with Google Drive or some third party, and it's live. It's good. The problem is that's also live. He's probably got that data as well. So the old school technique, like you discussed earlier, where you have an external hard drive or something and you periodically do a backup, that solves that problem. You'll have to whip out that old school hard drive.
And you go back to a date that wasn't
And go back
infected.
a date you were comfortable with, yes.
So I run a WordPress site,
Yes.
and I have a ton of data on there.
Yes.
It's possible that I go through Facebook and accept someone's friend request that I wasn't supposed to, and ransomware pops up.
Or a link within that friend request, yes.
Or someone on my staff does that by accident, and it just...
And that's the best version if it happened right away. What's insidious is, let's say that click on that link that installed the malware and started encrypting stuff, or started reading your data, happened a week or 2 weeks ago.
You don't even know.
And now you just get the pop-up.
But if I then go and I could potentially, if I'm backing stuff up, just go and, do I just delete, restore? Yeah.
I'd unplug wherever you are,
Right.
take a step back, and I'd consider at that time, you probably have a life cycle management plan for all your computers in your office. I'd start thinking about getting some new, fresh stuff and restoring from a trusted backup.
So I run a small theater called Push Theater, and I have a handful of employees, and they're getting on Facebook every once in a while. Like, how am I making sure that what they are doing while at work in our environment, on our computers, isn't going to have this bad day happen?
Excellent question. We all have car insurance if we're driving. Not just for you, but for the other drivers out there. You should assume that eventually something bad is going to happen. However, if all the data from, let's say, the 4 terminals in your office go to one location, it's backed up, goes out in the cloud somewhere, you have periodically someone to back up also on that external hard drive or some other device, periodically, to prevent from ransomware. Because when it happens, it's going to be hard to find out who did what and at what time. You can probably assume it's in the last 2 weeks.
A lot of things to think about. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
Hey gang, we have more to come, but first we want to hear from you. If you have comments or questions about the show, tweet us at HRBizWeekly. You can also head over to our website, hrbusinessweekly.com, to catch up on previous shows and segments.
Coming up, we take a look at the sometimes strange path to entrepreneurship. Meet a local businesswoman whose journey took her from accounting to construction to owning her own business. That's next. We're talking today about the path to entrepreneurship with Carol Curtis, the president of Noah Enterprises in Virginia Beach. Carol, you've got a great story. Thank you for sharing it with us today.
Oh, thank you so much for inviting me to be here.
So your business, Noah Enterprises, in your business, you are a Class A general contractor,
Yes.
which means from beginning to end, your company is in charge of building big things.
Start to finish. Yes, ma'am.
How did you start in this business?
You know, actually, I started out working for an electrical contractor many years ago. And through the course of progression from working in their accounting department, going on to another local general contractor who was very well known, and had the opportunity to work on a job site and absolutely fell in love with it. And chose to change my major from accounting to civil engineering.
And into construction, so from the world of numbers to the world of
Yes.
dirt and building.
But you know what was really interesting was I had originally started out as a business major, had switched to accounting, and then switched to civil engineering, and received my 2-year degree from Tidewater Community College, and was working as a project manager for several different contractors and such, and decided that I had been very blessed to work with great contractors, and I wanted to take the best of each of those and build something on it. And so I used that opportunity to start Noah Enterprises. And the really great part was, if you're going to be in business, you got to understand business. So it wasn't just a matter of understanding how to build a building, but I got to also understand the accounting department, and I have to understand the business side, and I have to understand the human side of the business and human resources and all that goes with it.
So you start your business in 2004, and you've grown it pretty big. So
Yeah.
talk about the last 13, 14 years.
Last 14 years, I'm not sure if you know this or not, but Noah Enterprises is actually named after my son. We've been in business now 13 years. He's 15. And I think he's really starting to enjoy being involved in the company and understanding what it goes on to run a business, which is really great. It's a wonderful accomplishment for me. But during that time, we've had upwards of 60 employees. We're now to 38. We went through the government's 8A program, which was absolutely a wonderful opportunity and greatly appreciated. And the whole purpose of it is to graduate as a successful contractor and then move on. And we've done that, which is something I'm so proud of. You know, the federal government, the program's out there to help people succeed. And all those around here in this area have been very good to the program, to Noah Enterprises, to many others in it, to help us do exactly that. And so now we're out there in the last 5 years really focusing on building our commercial clients and such, taking the knowledge that we got on the government contracting, which is really great. I mean, I've built more stuff. We've worked in the medical facility over at Portsmouth Naval Hospital, in the Women's Breast Clinic Center. We've also done, I have a marina going on right now at Little Creek. We just finished the new Nexcom Car Care Center. We are just finished the new Morrison's cafeteria in the bottom of Centera Norfolk General. We just finished a brewery in Norfolk. So the really cool part is we take all that knowledge that we learned on the government side and are able to take that and incorporate it and do exactly what the program is all about, which is getting out there and succeeding in the commercial and government world.
Right.
So something we're very, very proud of.
It's so cool to see the Noah Enterprises imprint in so many places.
Yes.
As you're driving through the streets. I bet it's really cool for you and your son.
It really is.
One last word of advice for someone who is wanting to take their knowledge and grow it to the scale that you have with Noah Enterprises.
Wow. Don't get defeated. My assistant just 2 days ago printed something out for me that said great leaders are made of these 6 qualities. And, you know, you read it and it talks about, being honest, show your employees that they can trust you. Well, but the last one says when things get tough, don't get defeated. You have to stay in the game. And I've had some days recently that, I was just like, wow, will it just get better? And reading that gave me such the momentum to don't give up the fight, Don't let other people push you around. Don't be bullied. Stand your ground. If you've done the right thing and you believe in yourself, then it will all work out.
Carol, thank you so very much.
Thank you for your time.
And congratulations on the success of Noah Enterprises.
Thank you. I'm really proud of it, and I'm proud of our team. Yeah.
What would you do if you got a call in the middle of the night that the building that your business was in exploded? We're going to find out next. Phil Decker. All right, today we're here with Phil Decker, owner of The Egg, a local eatery where you can get breakfast and lunch, 2 locations, one in downtown Norfolk and one off of Hampton Boulevard. Thanks for being with us today, Phil.
Thanks for having me, Zach. It's been a while.
It has. You have been in business with The Egg for about 10 or 11 years.
14.
14 years?
Yes, sir.
Wow. The last, let's say 18 months, though, have been pretty crazy.
The most crazy in my business career, that's for sure.
So you get a call one Friday night, I believe.
Yeah.
And it was that the building that you're in just had an explosion.
Right.
As the owner of a business that has dozens of employees, what's going through your mind when that happens?
I mean, I actually didn't get the call until I woke up the next day, which to everybody's dismay, but definitely surprised, scared, nervous, not sure what was going to happen, just really more worried about my employees at the time. But it turned into a really crazy 18 months. We're losing access to the DArt Center, losing all of the DArtists, losing the walkway through, losing our parking out front.
So losing your clients, losing where they can park, losing where they can find you, all basically in one blast.
Yeah, we were shut down for over 2 weeks, which is very difficult for any business, and then you're dealing with the insurance and the aftermath and the generators and et cetera.
Did you have insurance for that?
I did have loss of business insurance, and that's a whole nother, people that are in the restaurant business would understand. Most insurance policies don't really kick in until you're out of power for 48 hours or 72 hours or whatever your insurance policy mandates. And once it's out, then they start. But there's so much other stuff that goes with it, inventories, etc. Just getting all of your stuff lined up. It was a big headache, big headache.
Okay, so you get through those 2 weeks. Thank God you had insurance that you could fix all that. What'd you do with the employees?
We were able to put some of them at The Egg West, which we did, which is the other restaurant. And literally, the girls that had 40 hours a week now had 15, 20 hours a week. So everybody just kind of compromised a little bit. And thank God we were able to make it through that. And, the insurance doesn't pay you what you would have made. They just pay you for your losses. So, we were somewhat made whole again, and we're able to move on.
Then, over the coming weeks, you guys then had to close again for renovations of the building. Did you guys control that, or no?
It's such a peculiar situation where we're located on Main Street. We're next to the hotel. We knew that 10 years down the line, which is now, that they would rip off our facade to do the facade work, and it all is just happening at the same time. You've got the hotel going up, the facade cut off, you've got Starbucks leaving. There were just a whole bunch of factors. It was a perfect storm for a restaurant.
Did you ever think about quitting? Tell us the truth.
My wife wanted me, we talked about walking away from it.
I think this is something that not enough people talk about, the emotional side, the roller coaster of business, and those that aren't entrepreneurs don't get it. You went through something that I've never gone through, but it sounds like the scariest roller coaster ever. You had to have that hard conversation with your wife. Like, what was that conversation like?
It's not like you have a long conversation, you have a lot of time to talk about it. Everything kind of has to happen pretty expeditiously, and it was, now the way things are, I had neck surgery, so I had a big event in my life, and when you close your business down, that's a big event. So to have those things happen simultaneously, it was huge. I mean, it was really life-changing, and we had to have some come to Jesus moments and to really talk about where we wanted to be. And I know that the restaurant's going to do well in the future, and we just had to ride it out.
It had done well in the past, one of the busiest places.
Very well.
When you lost all that business and had to close down for several weeks at a time, How did you start kind of sprinkling back in the marketing to bring them back in?
I mean, it was so difficult because we were on compromised hours, and now even being reopened after spending several $100,000 reopening the restaurant, we're still somewhat compromised. You don't generally have people open a new restaurant and not have frontage, to not have an entrance, to not have any visual, people don't even know if we're crowded, open, or anything when they're walking up to a wooded entrance.
Yeah.
So it's just a very unique, unprecedented situation for a business, especially restaurant.
And we'll have part 2 coming up next week on that, the scary part of opening your business back up, but maybe for people not to see.
How do you take a small local business and scale it nationally? Listen to how Tom Knox did it by applying it to senior care, coming up. We are talking about scaling a business today with Tom Knox, the CEO of Seniorcorp, based in Virginia Beach.
That's correct.
Thanks so much for talking with us today, Tom.
Thank you.
So you started your business in 2004, and you've got an amazing story. So
Well, thank you.
let's start with your local business that you started way back.
Sure. Well, I had a grandmother who was abused in a nursing home. She was pressing her buzzer, and nobody came to get her. She fell on the floor, and a family member found her, and we had to bring her home. So my mom moved in, managed care, tried to arrange everything, had a nervous breakdown doing it. So I quit a wonderful job and no debt and the whole bit, and started a business out of my child's bedroom that would help keep seniors at home and provide support to adult children. And in a number of years, we've grown to locally, in the local business, over time, about 350 local employees, and we've helped a couple thousand families in Hampton Roads with that
wonderful.
business. Yeah, thank you.
So you were in the business here locally, putting caregivers with families
Yeah.
and
Managing
really
that
making
process,
things
yeah.
happen for them. When did you decide to change that model? It was successful.
Yeah, it was working well, and we were growing and iterating to make sure we're meeting the marketplace. And then I realized, which we all do, there's all these threats coming at you. And with us, it was technology and people doing it themselves and competition. And I had to make a strategic decision to say, am I going to grow up here and just kind of fend for myself and build walls and try to build a business, or am I going to go outside the box a little bit? So we decided to look at everything we did and said, if we need to disrupt that a little bit and break the price points, not make it expensive, give caregivers more money, and compete with the Craigslist and the care.com, what would we do? And I basically took my local business and built a platform where people could do it themselves. And if I knew I did that with some support, we could do it nationally.
I know you've discussed that with me and described it as sort of Match.com on steroids,
Yeah.
connecting caregivers around the country
Yeah.
with families who need their help.
Yeah.
So talk a little bit about how, and that's what it is now in 2017, but how back when you decided to scale that, how did you even start that process?
Well, it was an interesting, whenever you do this kind of thing and you're trying to figure out how to scale or grow out, you're gonna take 2 steps forward and 1 step back.
Right,
And
right.
we had to iterate. So at first I thought you put caregivers out there, you put families out there in a great platform, they're gonna connect and meet, and off they go, and you're an Uber.
Right.
Because I realized if you take the best of what a local market does, like a Seniorcorp, and you also put the components of people doing it themselves, like a care family, you're giving people both choices. And then you take that model and you roll it out throughout the country. And you help other businesses that can come into you and take your model and grow out. And all of a sudden, after doing that, and using technology, and using centralization, where we built our core competencies here in Virginia Beach, so we could support the local offices, all of a sudden people who are providing senior care in local locations could use our back end.
So it sounds easy now, but of course there were a lot of things that happened and a lot of mistakes that you made.
Yeah.
For someone who's in that position, maybe a great local business,
Yes.
wanting to scale and break down those barriers
Right.
and maybe go national.
Yes.
1 or 2 things you'd wanted them to
Man,
know.
I got a couple things because
Okay.
I could write a book on just mistakes. And probably people who get there eventually with something they do have a lot of mistakes, but a couple of clear ones. Raising money. Raise money, I think, as you need it. So when you have an actual step that you can ramp up because it's going to bring in revenue, raise money to ramp it. A lot of people go raise a big bucket of money and then kind of go do that. Number 2, kind of the quick startup mentality of minimal viable product, meaning just build what you have to do to build out your concept. I know one of the things I did was I built a very elaborate technology, okay? If I had to do over again, I would have built smaller steps and see what people needed and iterate from there. And this is good for people who want to try to do this because you don't have to go have a bunch of money, a bunch of time, a bunch of resources. Do enough to prove it out with a couple people in a different place, you know, over on the peninsula, and show that you can do it and then multiply it out. And if you have a model that work, people will always give you money, people always follow you, people always come work for you, and it can really work. And then that part's fun when you get to go just execute and spread from there.
Very nice. Be scrappy.
Yeah, absolutely be scrappy and love what you do. You know, it's one of those things where I went through some really, really dark moments. No money, you know, payroll issues. If I wasn't passionate about what I did, about knowing, you know, I was going to serve a family member like my grandmother was, I would have quit. So be scrappy, you know, and bootstrap it, prove it out, and then scale it.
Tom, thank you. Appreciate it.
Oh, no, thank you very much.
And with that, we wrap up another edition of Hampton Roads Business Weekly.
Make sure you like us on Facebook and Twitter, and then head over to hrbusinessweekly.com to get more information and watch previous shows.
For Hampton Roads Business Weekly, I'm Zack Miller.
And I'm Cheryl Tan. We'll see you next week.
Hampton Roads Business Weekly, sponsored by Regent University and produced by 13 News Now.